Hey, welcome to Blips. This is your host, Bip Roberts, former major leaguer. We're coming to you on this beautiful Monday from the Tri Valley out here up in Northern California. You're listening to the Mic'd Up app, where this format is for professionals and professionals only, where you get the 411 on what's going on in sports, whether it be baseball, basketball, football. We got a bunch of guys on this app who have played the game and understand the game. And it is a format where we're able to come to you and speak to you without everybody in our ear telling us what to say. We say what we want to say on this program, but no cursing and no obscenities. All right. Else I have to block you. All right. So, hey, listen, I got to tell you a little stories first before we get started. A couple days ago, I woke up to the sound and I didn't know where the sound was coming from. So I got up and I stood up and I looked up at the ceiling and I could hear this sound. I'm going, what is that? And it was kind of a high frequency sound. And I couldn't find where it was coming from. So I go to the next room and that sound is in that room. I'm like, whoa, where is this coming from? I go down the hallway. I go into the television room. I look up. I still hear this sound. I don't know what this sound is. So go through that whole day, come back, get home. I said, there's that sound again. I don't know where this sound is coming from. And I continue to look for this sound. And I call my son-in-law. He's an electrician. I said, hey, man, listen, come by. I got this high frequency sound in my house. He says, okay, I'll come by after my granddaughter's softball practice. So he comes by and he's got his boots on and he comes and he says, okay, where's your HVAC? I said, it's in the attic. So he gets the ladder and he goes up there and he's listening. He goes, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. He goes, well, B, I don't know what that is. So I said, well, man, listen, I don't know, but this sound is keeping me up at night. When I go to sleep, I put my head under the pillow. The sound is there. I'm like, I can't get rid of this sound. So the next day I call my HOA and I say, hey, listen, there's a sound going through my property here, my house that I can't find. So the next day they send out a guy and he goes into the cabinet on the behind the house and he says, uh, the panel where the for the fire, um, I guess this is a panel where if there's a fire, it goes through all of the houses and lets everybody know that there's a fire, and it's controlled by AT&T panel. He says, well, the panel here is making this funny sound. He says, I'm going to test it. So he tests it, and then this sound comes out. Now that's not the sound I'm hearing. Okay. He says, yeah, but the board is bad, and AT&T, they pay a lot of money for this, so AT&T is going to have to come out and fix it. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. That's not the sound I'm listening for or that I hear. So I go to the church on Friday and I go into this quiet room where my paperwork was, and I had to get this paper. I wrote two papers and they were graded, and I was going to pick them up. You know, I got an A on one. The other one I didn't get no grade because I didn't put a title on it. So I got to put a title on it. So I'm in this room and it's quiet and I hear that sound. I'm like, man, this sound is everywhere I go. So I called the head of the outreach program. I said, hey, come on in here. I need you to listen for something. So she comes in and she listening. And she says, yeah, I hear this. I hear some sounds. I said, but okay, do you hear that other sound? She goes, what sound? I go, that high pitched frequency sound. She goes, no, I don't hear that. I said, okay. So I start putting one and one together. And we have at the outreach, we have a couple doctors there. So one is an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So I go and I speak to her about it. She goes, you might have something going on in your ears. I go, really? You think so? So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna get a doctor's appointment. So I call a doctor right then. They say come in at 3:45. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the doctor today. So I get there and the doctor says, you have allergies? I go, yeah. He says, you probably have tinnitus in your ears. What? I said, so no wonder everywhere I went, the sound went with me. I still have it. I can still hear this little frequency in my ear. It's kind of weird, man. It's really weird, but it's there. It's real. I thought I was going crazy because the sound was following me everywhere I went. So they gave me some meds, and hopefully it'll go away in a couple days. If not, I have to go see a specialist. But it's not anything that is kind of wrecking my life where I can't sleep or I feel like I got just a shrieking sound in my head. You know, people always say, get out your head. You always go, you in your head too much. I get it. I get it. I fully get it. So tinnitus is what it is, and hopefully in a couple of days it'll be gone. It seems like it's subsiding. I'm not hearing it as much. I still hear it though, but not as much. Sometimes I feel like a bird's chirping in my ear, but I know that there's no birds around me. It's just something I got to deal with. And they said it's caused by allergies. So I'd rather have that than the other tinnitus that's caused by something else in the brain. I think my brain is still right, it's still working correctly, and it's not that. Okay, so that was my little story for the opening because I just had to tell everybody. Because sometimes what was happening is people would call and start talking, and it would just start to get on my nerves. It was like they're just talking too much, and I think I was getting irritated because of what was going on in my brain. So if I hung up on you, I'm sorry, but you was getting too deep in my head, and I had to get rid of that. All right. So topic number one today is the Oakland A's. I covered the Oakland A's for 10 straight days, and I saw the opposition scoring 10 plus runs and getting 20 plus hits per night. Man, oh man, I've never seen baseball like that before. And it continued. I think they're 4-16, 4-17 right now. And it's just a tough beginning. This is one of the toughest beginnings I've ever seen a professional team start with. And I don't know if you could overcome that. The old saying is, can't win a pennant in April, but you can lose one. I hate to say it, it looks like we've already lost it. What you think? Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. It was just one of those things where if it if pitching didn't show up that night, hitting showed up. If hitting showed up, pitching still didn't show up. So you had two of the three facets working were hitting and defense, but the pitching it was just bad. I mean, every night starters were just getting ripped up. They were coming out the game after two and a third, three and a third, four and a third. They couldn't get past the fifth inning until Sears he got past it. He did start doing pretty good. Little lefty came over from I think Sears came over from the in Atlanta trade. That's what I think. And he threw the ball well his last two outings. Everybody else was just getting lit. I mean, just lit. You're talking about 20 hits. You don't see that, but maybe once a season. I've seen it a couple times, and it's not a good sight. It's not a good look. Well, to make things even worse, news came out this week. A's have purchased land in Las Vegas. Wow, that was a shocker. A lot of sad people around town, upset. They just felt like, again, another franchise snatched out of Oakland. We lost the Warriors, lost the Raiders, and now it looks like Vegas is about to snatch the A's. And I'm not one to really believe what is written in the paper because in negotiations, you have two sides trying to get what they want while trying to come to some sort of an agreement. The A's use Oakland to actually get a better deal from Vegas. The Oakland City Council and mayor says, hey, listen, you guys are not putting everything out on the table. We can't do this to our citizens as far as taxes. So we're not going to be able to reach you where you want. And so I think at some point in time in negotiations, it breaks off. And while it's broken off, the A's are talking to Vegas. Seems like Manfred has come to the aid of the Oakland A's, saying, hey, they'll do real well in Vegas. And he seems to be behind it 100%, where the mayor of Oakland, Shay Tong, has said she's not going to talk to the A's again. If they want to talk to me, they can come and we'll have a conversation, but we're not going to them to have conversation anymore. Well, the A's still need 500 million in Vegas because you can only get so much private funding until you have to go into the community to get the rest, and they need 500 million. I have a lot of family in Vegas. They're already being taxed for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders come in, there's taxes in the hotel, there's just taxes everywhere. and they're a little sick and tired of that. Now, the Raiders have a following that's worldwide. The Knights, who are the hockey team, came in and won a championship. What are the A's going to bring? They're going to bring Major League Baseball. But what are they going to bring? Are they going to bring a team there to compete and win? Or are we just going to come there to get what we can get from the Vegas City Council, governor, mayors? We'll have to wait and see. They're saying that they're going to leave after 2024. They're going to play AAA in the Aviator Stadium, which is the AAA team out in Summerlin. It's a nice area. Reminds me of Walnut Creek up here, where the ballpark is stationed in Summerlin. There's restaurants and shopping all around that area. The Red Rock Hotel is across the street. It's a real nice area. Summerlin is very, very nice. It's hard to compete with that. But I think that when negotiations seem to go sour, at some point in time, they may get back together and make a deal. I don't know if this is going to happen this time. I usually have a good sense of things like that. Like, they're probably going to get back together because both sides really want to stay in Oakland. But I don't think Commissioner Manfred, wants them to stay in Oakland. That's the wild card right there. As you see, Manfred has put his stamp on this season with all these new rules that's just changed the game of baseball, from the pitch timer to bigger bases to no shift. It's just one after another, after another, and after another. I'm waiting for the robots to come on the field and start calling balls and strikes and stand out behind first, second, and third base and make calls. When that happens, I think I'm going to turn the TV off. But we all know that at some point in time, rules are meant to be changed. I think the players are having a little tough time, but they're starting to make the adjustment. The pitch timer is the biggest adjustment. And the pitch timer is the biggest adjustment because when a pitcher gets behind in the count, now he wants to get the ball, or he wants to stop action, he wants to catch his breath, and then he wants to be able to deliver a pitch. Now he doesn't get that chance. So now, because of the pitch timer, he gets the ball, he's got to get a sign, he's got to go. He gets the sign, he gets the ball, he's got to go. And that's the repetition of it now. And sometimes the game can speed up on him. I heard Sears say that for the A's as a pitcher. He says, hey, the pitch timer made me speed. I just started to speed up. The game started becoming fast. Hitters. I saw this. Hitter gets jammed. He steps out the box because his hands are ringing, feels like bees are stinging him. And because he can't get back in the box, they call a violation on him. The umpire saw that he had jammed his fingers. He jammed his hand on the swing, but he still called a violation on him. And I saw manager Kotsay come out and just go off on the umpire, and eventually got kicked out the game. So I was hosting that show with another co-host, and we disagreed on that. I said that if a guy gets jammed and his hands are ringing, how do you expect him to get right back in the box and hit? And he said, well, he used his timeout, so he shouldn't be able to get out the box. Really? So let's say if he's that pitcher, because he used to be a pitcher, let's say he gets drilled on a ball back up the middle off the bat and it hits him in the shin. Should he just get right back up on the mound and throw? Or should he have the time to overcome that little hurt? See, it's always good for the pitcher, but never good for the hitter. And he really disagreed with me. And I just looked and said, man, this guy doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. They're human beings. Things happen. And because you don't have the 20 seconds to overcome, you get a violation. Really? Okay, that's a rule that we're going to have conversation about. You got these bigger bases. You can throw the first twice, and if you don't get them the third time, it's a balk. These guys are getting walking leads with 1 second left and taking off. And they're saying stolen bases are up. Wow, this is a great thing. What do you think Ricky Henderson thinks? Or Vince Coleman? Or Tim Raines? Or Marquise Grissom? Or Willie McGee? Or Brett Butler? What do you think these guys are thinking? They're making it too easy for these guys to steal bases when we had it really tough. Roberto Alomar. I mean, there's just so many guys in my time that stole bases. And we did it without the help of the rules or bigger bases. I'm seeing guys who've never stole a base stealing bases now because they want the game to have more action. See, this is why it's so tough for the guys in the Hall of Fame to get behind stuff like this. It's because they earned everything they got. And now you're trying to put in rules to help guys get numbers. It doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't work like that. It's so difficult to put up numbers. But when you help guys put up numbers, it kind of has a tendency to taint it a little bit. And I'm just going to say a little bit because these guys still have to find a way to get to first base. And then once they get to first base, now you got these these extra big bags, which is an inch. And most of the time, a guy is either called safe or out is based on an inch here and an inch there. See? If a guy's caught out at first, it's based on inches at first base. He was out, bang, bang. Now guy beats it out because the base is bigger. Guy steals second. It's a bang, bang play. He's safe because the base is an inch bigger than it was. And now he's safe. See, little things like that. I don't think the normal person understands that that's the reason why these guys are now starting to have a success rate of 100%. And you see on their steals, some of them are just not even close. The catcher doesn't even have a chance. If I'm a catcher, I'm thinking, man, listen, dude, I don't know how this is going to work on my accuracy and the percentage of me throwing guys out. You know, back in the day, Pudge and Sandy Alomar and Benito and those guys that had bazookas behind the plate probably wouldn't have made a difference to them because they throw you out from their knees. But some of these guys don't have arms like that. And it looks like they're just being taken advantage of. I don't think the rules should be in place to where they take advantage of a certain player. You know, it's just not fair. So that's kind of how I felt about almost the first month of the season, having watched 10 straight games of all different kind of things happening that I've never seen before. I mean, I've never seen before. You know, when you watch this game, every day you see something different. Every game has its own DNA. And I've seen some games that I didn't know could be a part of the DNA. Just really. It's just been unbelievable. Tampa Bay has just jumped out there like gang fire, like a world beaters. That these guys, unbelievable right now. It looks like that could be a team that goes wire to wire. That's because they have some pretty good talent over there and they play well as a team. Good pitching, good defense, and an offense that is steady. Baseball now is going to guys who can hit the ball and use the entire field. That launch angle stuff, that doesn't work. I was always against that. It was all about strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Now it's about baseball. Without the shift, guys are getting a lot more hits. We predicted that before the season. A lot of guys talked. We had different type of shows on television, and we talked about what would the shift do. It's going to allow for more hits. Guys are going to hit higher averages. We're going to get back to baseball where stay on your side of the field. Let's see what type of talent you have up the middle. Do you have good range? Do you have okay range? Great range is going to win. Okay range is going to lose. Because great range will get to balls that okay range can't get to. So that means great range will stop base hits where okay range balls go through for base hits. We're back to old baseball when it comes to that. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with a pitch timer where a pitcher can't catch his breath. And if he gets hit by a ball, he's got to get right back on the mound. And a hitter, if he gets jammed and needs an extra couple minutes so he can get his feeling back in his hands, he gets a violation as well. And also, I saw this. I saw a runner attempt to steal second, slide into second, and then take his time getting back to first. And the clock went down to 0, and the hitter was charged a violation. Really? What did the hitter do? He got control of runner sliding into second, taking his time to get back to first. See, little things like this goes unnoticed by some, but not by us who really, really watch the game. We need a conversation about this. Manfred, we need a conversation about this. Because if I slide in a second and I may jam my ankle a little bit, or maybe it's the 5th time that I've been running, it's a 3-2 count, and I've been running to second base 7 times. Man, I might need a breather. I might have to take my time getting back to first. It shouldn't count against the hitter, but they've done that. And I've seen guys getting ejected because they're not going to take that. They're going to keep fighting it until there's a change made or there's a conversation. Okay? So, hey, we'll talk about what the A's leaving will do to Oakland. We'll talk about that on the other side. We'll be right back on Bips Blips. All right, welcome back to Bips Blips on the Mic'd Up app. You can get the Mic'd Up app in the App Store, iPhone, Apple, or you can go to Android. You can pick it up there. You might as well get it so that you can hear us talk some smack on our days. You know, Rick Barry's on this app as well. And you know Rick, he don't hold back. So give him a shout out when you can. Now, I'm going to just name off some names here. Frank Robinson, Beta Pinson, Kurt Flood, Joe Morgan, Rudy May, Al Woods, Gary Pettis, Lloyd Mosby. Did I say Ricky Henderson? How about Dave Stewart? Shooty Babbitt. Now Nico Horner, who's the second baseman for the Cubs. Myself, Brian Johnson, Marcus Jensen. It's just so many names that I can't name everybody without having a long piece of paper here. What do they all have in common? They're all from Oakland. When did they start to love baseball? Around 1968, when the A's came to town. All of us have green and gold in our blood. All of us, from the very first time we went to the Coliseum, had dreams of playing in the major leagues. All of us in the city of Oakland, those who didn't make it to the big leagues, made it to the minor leagues or went to college and played what? Baseball. See, that was the game in our town. And why was it so prevalent? Well, it was so prevalent because at one point in time, most of our grandmothers and grandfathers, some of them fathers, mothers and fathers, were from the South, Louisiana, Mississippi. A lot of my family came from Arkansas. Um, and so from the South, they migrated to the West. Now, what makes it so special is that they all ended up in Oakland. Wow. So I got this book here. It's by Howard Bryant. I'm going to grab it for you. And it's called Ricky. Okay? And Howard did a great job. I'm going to try to find something for you if I can. Bear with me for a second. This book is based on all of the guys who came out of Oakland. All right? Ricky seemed to be the guy that he featured, but it turned into something more than just about Ricky. All of us have a paragraph or two in here And it just tells you and shows you where we all lived in Oakland. And because I didn't find this before I started the show, it may take me a second to find it. Maybe it's in the index or something like that. But the thing that amazed me and amazes others is that all of us came out of Oakland, from West Oakland, where it first started, where Frank, Kurt, and Veda went to McClymonds. And it's funny because Bill Russell went to McClymonds, Paul Silas went to McClymonds, and they all ended up great NBA ball players. That's right. When you look at how many guys came out of Oakland, it's just amazing. I want to see if I can find that map for you because you would like to see that. In that map, it has Dave Stewart being from like 4 different places. People were calling during the book and said, "Man, Dave is from here. Dave is." And then we were talking to Dave last night. He says, "Yeah, I started by living in North Oakland, and then we moved to West Oakland, and then we moved to East Oakland. That's why everybody's claiming him." That's funny to me. I started off at 106 in Malcolm, and I ended at 106 in Malcolm. If any of you know where Malcolm is, 106th Ave in East Oakland. I probably won't be able to find that map, but I really wanted to show you that map because it's just, oh, there it is. Okay. So maybe you can see this. But there's a map of all the guys that came out of Oakland, right? And I'll read off some names here. Paul Silas and the Pointer Sisters. You remember the Pointer Sisters? It was a great group. They could sing. Them sisters could blow. Ooh, they was from Oakland too. Bill Russell. Huey Newton. I don't know if many of you know who Huey Newton is. Huey Newton was the leader of the Black Panther Party. And that started at Oakland City College. And the reason I know is because my dad was at Oakland City College at that time, and he was dating my mom. And Huey and those guys used to have a meeting at the restaurant across the street. And my dad was a part of that until he met my mom, because that day Huey said, "Hey, we got a meeting, let's go." And mom's was like, "Either you go with them or you go with me." So he went with her, but he used to still go to the meetings. You know how I know? Because I see him in a black leather jacket with a big afro. That's Black Panther. Now, Kurt Flood, Lloyd Mosby, Ricky Henderson, Veda Pinson. And then it's got Dave Stewart, Joe Morgan, Rudy May, Gary Pettis, and myself. Those are the only ones he put on that map. But there were so many more. There were so many more. Unbelievable. And Howard Bryan did a good job of that. It's just amazing. So when the A's, and if they do leave, they're leaving a legacy of players who, because of them, inspired to be in the big leagues and made it to the big leagues. When you start talking about the A's, the 72, 73, 74 champions, you start talking about a time where I was in the sixth grade, fifth and sixth grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth, maybe. And after we completed our work in school, because remember, World Series games were in the daytime. Most of them started about 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, something like that. Well, we were still in school. And our teacher, I remember Miss Brown saying, "Hey, if you guys do your work," because she knew I love baseball. She knew I love baseball. She knew from the 3rd grade, it was on my report card. It's got a passion for sports, but I really love baseball. Even though I played basketball and football and all that, I loved baseball. She would say, "Once you guys get finished with your work, I'm going to wheel the TV in and let you guys watch some of the game." Oh, that's so cool. Oh man, now you got to finish your work. Come on, y'all, finish your work. Let's go. Come on, finish your work. We finish it, and she wheeled that big old black and white TV up in there, plug it up, and turn the game on. Man, as kids, that was just lit. Come on, it was lit. We was all in tune to that because we all loved the A's. And then when the bell would ring as school was over, I lived 4 doors away from the school. So before the commercial was over, I was already home, sitting on the couch, watching the game. How cool was that? And we did that 72, 73, and 74. And it was pretty much all the way always on before I got there because at that point in time, Mom's was at home and she would be maybe downstairs folding clothes. And I'd come in and she would be watching the game. And I'd sit next to her and watch the game. I remember sitting there watching the game with her when Bob Gibson was in the World Series. I was little typed in. But I just remember how when the A's won, there was like this cannon that they would shoot after the game to let us know in the city that they won. So from East Oakland, West Oakland, North Oakland, you could hear the cannon. And everybody in the city, they knew the A's had won that day. That was awesome as a kid, the memories we have. And then going to bat day and getting a Campy Campaneris bat. And then going to the park and playing strikeout with your buddies all day. And who are you? I'm number 19, Bert Campaneris. They want to be Reggie Jackson and Billy North and Dick Green, Mike Epstein, Gene Tennis, Ray Fosse, Captain Sal, Joe Rudy. But I was Campy Campaneris, leadoff hitter. Memories, man, memories. Yeah. Talking with Dave Stewart last night, he had some of the same memories. And baseball was so much of in the bloodstream of everybody in that city. The little leagues were so competitive. And I remember when I was 10, I got on this team called Seafood Grotto. Frank Love was the coach. And Frank was huge, about 6'3", 6'4", about 295, 300 pounds. And my dad had always talked me up. And when I got to that practice, for the first time ever, Frank laid eyes on me and I ran out on the field. He said to my dad, "Who, this little guy? Who this little guy?" And my dad said, "Watch when he start to go. Watch." And he said, "All right, give me 2 laps." And I took off like Speedy Gonzalez. It's zoom, zoom. 2 laps was over. And he said, "Okay." And he said, "I got 1 spot open," because everybody at that time, I was 10, and everybody that was starting on that team was 12. He said, "I got 1 spot, and it's a second base, and it's between you and this other guy." And the other guy, I remember his name was David Smith. Turned out to be one of my buddies. We were the same age, and I beat David out. And I started at second base on Seafood Grotto, a team that had lost in the championship the year before. And then this year, we turned around and won it. And we won it the next year. And we lost when I was 12. We lost in the championship. But I was 2 for 3 in championships. And then at that time, because of the love of baseball in the city, there was 200-300 people at our games for the championship. It was loud and it was a lot of energy. And I remember at 10 when we won it, that was the very first time I ever played organized ball. I remember everybody running onto the field and my mother running up and giving me the hug. And she was so happy. That's what baseball means to us in Oakland. And now the A's are talking about leaving. I understand business, but it still makes me a little upset to know that the childhood dreams I had, at some point in time, I won't be able to look at the Coliseum and reminisce because it'll be gone. And that's a shame. And all the things that the Oakland A's did here in Oakland, it'll be in our memories, but it'll be gone. So I'm not happy about that. And because I'm not happy about that, I'm going to go back to let some people ask questions to get my mind off of that kind of angry thought I just had in my head. Wick, how you doing? What's up, man?
Hey, Bip, this is Tim from Danville. I had a question in light of the fact that looks like the A's may be moving out. I'm curious as to how it ever came to be that the Giants control the San Jose market? Who made that determination? What they had to give up? What it cost them? And why would other teams agree to that, or why would the Major League agree to that? Thanks.
Well, you know what's funny is that they assumed they have that territory. I think it was given to them by the A's at a certain point in time, and it was only supposed to be temporary. It became permanent. In baseball, once you give an inch, people are going to take three. And I think that's exactly what happened. And the A's at one point in time during that negotiation should have never given that away. But they weren't thinking because, again, the A's were champions and they had kept winning championships. So they felt like fans would come their way, not realizing that times change. And if you continue to stay in the same place, in the same stadium, doing the same things, sometimes people have a tendency to veer to the left and go check out another team. I think what happened is when the A's wanted to move down there, the Giants kind of reinforced that that was their territory and why it was their territory because it had been given away. Nothing you can do about it after that. Major League Baseball said that's the Giants' territory now. You gave it to them. Bad move by the A's. ConorG, what's up with it, man?
Hey, Bip. Just want to know, when you were in the big leagues, what were your favorite road cities, and what were your favorite places to eat when you're on the road? Any special restaurants or anything you really liked when you were out on the road? Thanks so much.
Man, Connor, you talking about 20, 30 years ago. I'm not going to remember that. I like to go to Montreal. It was so clean and peaceful. I love Montreal. I like to go to Chicago and play against the Cubs. Wrigley Field just had this electricity through it. It was all day games, and Harry Carey was the man. That was just a good time. I like to go to New York, playing either with the against the Mets or the Yankees. New York being the entertainment capital of the world. It was outstanding. Loved it. Loved to go to LA and play the Dodgers because that was Hollywood. Got a chance to meet a lot of movie stars and things like that. Really enjoyed coming back to play at San Francisco when I was a Padre or a Red, coming back home to play against the Giants. And my buddies from Oakland would come over there. I'd have 50 people at the game. So I felt like I was at home and I just dominated the Giants. I enjoyed coming back and playing when I was with the Royals against the A's. And it was just always a good time. There's so many places I like to go, and some places that, wasn't so, I guess, pleasant to the eyes. Some places they were old stadiums. Now they all have new stadiums, so I'm pretty sure that all of those, any road trip you go to, you're gonna enjoy playing on that field. Like back then, we had Riverfront Stadium. The Pirates had the worst turf in the world. Philly had the hottest turf in the world. St. Louis had some hot turf, but I always got hits there and I had good games, but it was extremely hot there and my body took a beating from the turf. Now, when it comes to food, there were so many different places that we ate. We always ate at four-star dining. I mean, we had enough money where we could go eat where we wanted. I just don't remember all the restaurants because it was sometimes it seems like a blur. You're in one city tonight, another city a couple of days from now, and then another city. Pretty soon, you don't even know what your room number was to your hotel room. So, um, I wish I could help you with the restaurants, but I know we used to go down on Rush Street in Chicago. I would go to Shark Bar in New York. Um, Montreal had some different places. Most of the time, we just get something quick to go there. Let's see, San Francisco. Of course, we would check out the Fisherman's Wharf, Aliotos, and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, anytime, anywhere that we would go, we would find the best places to go and eat, and just enjoy our time away from the field, hanging out with the fellas.
So
Mhm.
it seems that Bay Area baseball is going to be pretty sad, I think, the next couple of years. But instead of whining about it all the time. I feel like I'm going to try to embrace it and go to as many games as I can because ticket prices will be cheap. But I was wondering, with you as an ex-ball player, what did you feel like when you were on a team that maybe gave up a little bit on the team? You know, the management did, the ownership, and you can feel either they were trying to move cities or they were just trying to make wave for another team later on.
Well, I've never been on a team that was thinking about moving to another city. I've been on teams where we didn't play well, and you just have to deal with it. You have to play to the best of your abilities because it's a job. And on any job, if you're not doing your job, you can be replaced. It becomes harder for a player to play for numbers than it is to play for wins, if you could believe that. Because when you're playing for numbers, it's a selfish type of day that you have planned for yourself. Yeah, you want to get your hits, but you want to get your hits and win at the same time. And I think sometimes when it becomes a game where you're thinking about numbers, it's very difficult and you get frustrated. And so it doesn't make for a great year. And I've been on some teams where we've won some ball games. We were balling. We never thought about our numbers. And at the end of the season, when you looked up, we had the numbers. But the season went so fast because you win 92, 93, 94 games. You're not even thinking about, oh, I need to get some hits. You're just thinking, man, when I look around this locker room, I got some boys with me. We're going to win today. And then everything falls in place. I remember playing in Cincinnati and Cleveland and the Padres. We had some teams where we had some pretty good players. And we went out there and played. And nobody worried about numbers. So it's difficult when you're playing just for numbers because your team is so bad. And it makes for a long year and you can't wait for it to be over. Jack.
Hi, can you provide any updates on the new rules in baseball and how it's affecting the play? Would be interested in your insight and how that's going. I know it's early in the season, but thought you may have some additional insights. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. Um, One rule I don't mind is the no shift. That's okay because you have to be athletic to play this game. You got to have range. And now you have to be strong up the middle, catcher, short second, center. You got to be able to cover some ground on ground balls, catch balls that other teams can't, so that you now know our defense is superior to the others. We're going to make our plays. They have to make their plays, but we know we can make our plays. The thing I talked about earlier that I have a problem with is this pitch timer and the ability for guys to steal these bases without a pickoff at first. Makes no sense to me. Those two rules are really a distraction to me because if I'm in the box, and I said this example earlier, and I get jammed on the pitch and it's a foul ball and my hands are ringing, I need more than 15 seconds to get my hands back into the point where I can at least hold the bat. I have to be able to recuperate from that stinging of the hand. But I've seen guys get a violation because they're still out there shaking their hand because they can't grip the bat. I've seen where a guy slides in a second, and because he takes his time getting the first, the hitter is penalized a violation. He had nothing to do with that. That rule should be open for discussion right now, how we can make that better. The exemptions that should be. That's something that Commissioner Manfred, I'm sure, is getting calls on. The pitch timer also speeds the pitcher up when he's struggling a little bit. When a pitcher struggles, he steps off the mound, he rubs up the baseball, he takes a deep breath, he gets back on the mound, now he's ready to go again. He can't do that. When you see a pitcher get the ball, now he rubs it up twice and he gets back on the mound, he's ready to go. He's rushing. He's rushing. If I'm on defense, I want my pitcher to take his time, make his pitches, and execute the location because we want to win the game. We don't want him just to become a thrower. I think that's what's happened. Some guys are becoming a thrower because the pitch timer has sped them up. That's not their normal rhythm. So those are the two. The one at the pitch timer, the violations, those are the ones that kind of bother me a little bit more than the other ones. Okay. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Bip, now that the season's a couple weeks old, I wanted to get your take on the rule changes this year, whether positive or negative on the game thus far. Thanks.
Seems to be the most popular question right now, these rule changes. And again, I'll just say that there's the ones that I like and the ones that I don't like. There's a conversation that needs to be had. And I'm sure that Commissioner Manfred is receiving these calls. I've seen where when a guy gets jammed and he stepped out and he's still trying to gather himself, he gets a violation. And I've seen the manager come out and argue that call and get ejected. And the thing about it is they have microphones behind the plate. Sometimes you can hear it, sometimes they turn it off. But I could hear the microphones. I could hear Manager Kotze saying, he jammed, he got his hand jammed. He's trying to overcome that. What do you want? You want him to tell you that his hand hurts? You see that it's hurt, but you still give him a violation. And that turned into a full-blown argument where Kotze was kicked out the game. And I sat there and I said, you know what? I probably would have got kicked out the game too. You got to protect your players, man. Just because that's a rule doesn't mean that there's no exemptions to the rule. That's why I say we have to have a conversation about that. That's just not cool. What happens if a guy gets drilled up the middle from a base hit where the pitcher gets drilled, and then what? Is he supposed to just walk it off? I see the trainer and everybody run out then. He gets special treatment and the hitter doesn't? I'm not a pitcher. I was a hitter. So I'm speaking from a hitter's standpoint. If I get a fastball inside and I get jammed and foul it off and my fingers are stinging, I need the extra time like you do when the pitcher gets hit in the leg or something and you guys run out there and you want to rub his leg. Come rub my fingers. Makes no sense to me. So that's one of the positive, negative ones that I'm not cool with. My boy EJ.
Hey Bip, it's EJ. What's happening? Period. What do you think about the new rules? Stolen bases are back up, Bip, just like it was back in the day. What's your take on that, man? It's good to see the guys running again.
You know, EJ, former ball player himself, so he's watching these rules and how it's affecting the game as well. And my thing is, I'd love to see him stealing bases. You know, a couple years ago, nobody ran. It's like, what happened to the stolen base? It's like it disappeared. And I was hearing, well, they don't want to run into an out. Well, really? I mean, that's part of the game. You can steal a base. You don't have to stay anchored to the base you're on. You get a lead, you get a jump, you go, right? Now they said, hey, let's make the bases bigger. You can only throw over 2 times. The third time, if you don't pick him off, it's a balk and he gets second. Well, I like to see him running, but I want to see it under a level playing field where with 2 seconds, the guy's not bouncing off a second, knowing that the pitcher's not coming over and take off. That's the easy stolen base. Yeah, EJ, I agree with you that it's good to see the guys running, but man, I wish it was like that in my day. I think Ricky might have stole 200 bases. Vince Coleman might have stole 250. Timmy Raines probably stole 150. Marquise Grissom, instead of the 80 he stole that year, probably would have been 120. And there's so many others. For our day, they started, hey, you can slide step. That's basically not stopping as you come down to a set position and going home to keep us off balance at first. So our numbers came down. We could only steal between 70, 46 and 70. And that was with the new rule change to help the pitcher speed up his delivery to the plate. Now they just high leg kick, go. EJ, I think you could steal a base right now. I might steal one too. How about that? For keeping guys in motion. And it's just, I don't know, man. I'm still a little taken back by it right now. I just think that this year you're going to see some guys probably still between 80 and 90 bases. And that's a good thing for the game because it's exciting. It's athletic. You get to see guys use their wheels. And I think that's what you want. You want to see more doubles and triples and stolen bases. And you want to see baseball again. Not like I said earlier, that launch angle stuff. Walk, strikeout, home run. And that was boring. That was really boring. 12, 13 strikeouts per team every night. Please. So I like the game right now when it comes to guys using the whole field, using their athletic ability, and putting and just getting 3, 4, 5 hits an inning, just back to back to back. Just guys doing the things that we used to do back in the day. So from that standpoint, I'm okay with that. We didn't need that shift. That shift ran a lot of guys out the game. I'm seeing Cody Bellinger right now swinging a good bat because he's using the whole field. He used to be just a straight pull hitter. Guys have figured it out. We'll see a lot more guys becoming better hitters now. And it's all because there's no shift. So that's a good thing. Well, folks, we finally come to that time where we must say goodbye. But I enjoyed it. Even though I got this tinnitus in my head, I'm starting to hear birds chirping again. But that's in my head. Hopefully we'll get past this, just like we'll get past the A's leaving town. All right? So from me to you, have a blessed day. We'll catch you next time on Bips Blips.